Hello everyone, how are you today? It's Mandy from Grammar Creative Arts. Thank you for joining me. So as requested, I am going to do a little tutorial of how I make, let me grab one, these quilt-as-you-go pouches. Let me put that in frame. So we'll have a little bit of fun. This is a good way to use up lots of scraps. And they're useful for so many things. So I got my new foot pedal for my, when I'm playing my sax, and I've got my music on the iPad. Have that, and it's got its little cord. And I thought, well, it's a bit boring leaving that in the box. So I'll make myself a little case, a little zippered pouch, and we will do it together. So I measured the box, although it probably is a little bit big, but I'd rather have too much space for the pedal anyway. So I've done, it's 20 centimeters or 7 3/4 of an inch wide, just so that you know what my measurements are, but you can make these to anything that you like. 16.8 or 6 5/8. And the depth of the box is 3.5 or 1 3/8. So I decided, to get the height and everything on this rectangle that I'm going to use, I measured, I haven't got enough hands. I measured across and down, just 1 1, because obviously then it's the same. So I get 20.2 by 23.2 or 8 by 9 1/4. So I've decided, so that I've got enough to play with in the seams, to do a 10 by 9 rectangle. Now, if anyone who does any quilting, even in Australia, all of our stuff comes in inches. But just in case you want centimetres, 25.3 by 22.8. Because so much, I just lined up my square ruler and I cut myself out to put that up there out of the way. This is just this is a wool batting. This is just, I've just got a bag of leftovers, and so I've cut out 2 10 by 9 rectangles. It's not too thick. It's only probably about, oh gosh, where are we? I'll be lucky if it's 2 mil thick. All right. So I've got 2, one for the front, one for the back, and that will give me plenty of room for seams on top and bottom and everything. Okay, it's better to have too much than not enough. So I am using my 1/4 inch, there we get it in the right place, 1/4 inch seam foot, so that I'll be lining up with the edge of the outer edge of the foot and the inner edge, depending on what I'm sewing. And I've got my little arm and phone. Hopefully it's at an okay angle. So I'm going to just start off, and then I will go to time lapse, because obviously you don't need me to keep on sewing at a normal pace. Right, so let's start with one. Now I've got a whole pile of scraps that I like out of my scrap bag. I even found one music. It's Christmas, but that doesn't matter. So actually I'm going to cut that. Now there's no, I just trim with scissors. It ends up going wonky, but it doesn't matter. So we might actually, is that about the same height? It is. All right, so I start with something roughly in the middle, and this was obviously, I don't know what it was, but it's been folded in half. So my first, I'm just going to put one right side up, one right side down. They're roughly the same height. You don't really have to worry too much if they're not, because the way the quilt-as-you-go goes along, it's very forgiving. Right, let me get my foot pedal under my foot. Okay, so I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so this part here. I'm just going to, no back stitching because it's all going to get covered over and quilted, so back stitching is not necessary. I just pull it over there. Now I've just turned that round because I'm going to sew this one first, only because it's I've left the seam under there. Okay, so over, and I'm going to use the outside of the 1/4 inch seam foot, which makes that la la la. I don't even know. I don't know. I'll have to measure. I haven't got a ruler, or no, she hasn't. Okay, 2 seconds. I'll just get my tape measure. Here we are. Okay, so it is. Oh, I need to take it off so we can see. I'll just line it up there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's that? So from the center to this part here is 1/4 inch, and that's, no, it's not quite 3/8. It's just a little bit under. Anyhow, measurements don't really matter. You don't even have to use this foot. You can just use your normal everyday, excuse me for Rich, your normal everyday sewing foot, and just line it up with the outside. Okay, so once again, no back stitching, and I just I'm going to just sew a line. I tend to just use white. It just blends with everything. You could use cream, or I mean, you could use a metallic thread. You could use a coloured thread. It's you know, it's your preference. I find that the white tends to. Oh, this one I'd used a light green. Well, there you go. So obviously I had all those colours out, and I used a light green. Generally, I just use white. Okay, so bit of noise. So once again, no need to go, no back stitching. And then I turn it around because the outside of the feet are the same, and I'm just going to line up. So I've lined, that first one was with the seam, this one is with the stitching. And over we go. And that's about as far as I leave it, because by the time I put a row of stitching down there, it's right near the edge, and it's going to get covered in a side of seam. I'm just going to trim those 2 longer ones. That was just where I started. Usually I don't worry about trimming anything. And now I'm going to do exactly the same thing on the music. So just lining up the seam with the outside of the foot. Okay, so there's our first 2 pieces quilted as we've gone, and I can already tell it's not straight, but I don't care. It's all good. It's very, like I said, it's very forgiving. It's not like normal quilting. Now, you probably wondered why I was going down and then turning around and coming back, and that way if I just go down, 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 I will tend to, the material can pull. So the fun bit is to find another piece that will go along. That would be nice. And we just, so you can see, like this is a really good scrap user-upper project. I'm sure that's a term somewhere. Yes, okay. So now, once again, I'm lining up my frayed edge. My frayed edge with the 1/4 inch part there. Finger press it back, and then lining up the outer edge of the foot. So there you go. I'm just going to keep on. Will that fit there? Roughly close enough. I am going to now put this into time-lapse mode because I know from doing these that it'll take me about an hour to do this one and this one, and even at fast forward, that's still a long time. So I will see you at the other end of the time lapse. So you'll still see me putting it all together and quilting it all and having a bit of fun. Hey, I'm back and I have finished sewing my outer pieces together. Whoops, I've put things that can still be used in the bin. No. Okay, so now I need to actually cut these to the exact right size and cut some lining fabric. Plus I want to put a little pocket because that way I can keep the charging cord inside the pouch with the pedal. Okay, so I shall be right back momentarily when I've cut it out. Okay, I've done my cutting and I'm back. So let's see what we've got. I've got a zip which is a 24 centimeters or 9.5 inches. I've cut 2 rectangles and I've just ironed them. This was, well, it was the width of the scrap, but and it'll get cut down to the width of the zip, but it is close enough to 2 or 5 centimeters. And I've made it 8.5 centimeters long, or almost 3.5 inches. I'll write that down. Okay, so they're those little pieces, and I've ironed them in half, and then I've opened it, ironed those 2 little flaps in there. So it's kind of like big bias binding. got 2 of those. I've got a piece here. This was just, that's the size of the scrap, but I'll let you know this is going to be my pocket. It is close enough to 13 or 5 inches by 19 or 7 3/4 inches. So this is my pocket, and then I've trimmed down my pieces of quilt-as-you-go and some pieces for the lining at 9.5 by 8.5. So they're 9.5 wide, 8.5 tall. Okay, so first things first, I need to put my pocket onto my lining, because otherwise it'll be very hard to do when it's all done. So we'll just go back to our normal foot. So I am going to just snip off the top there so that I can, and the bottom, just those corners. And I'll be right back. I'm just going to my iron, and I'm going to turn this inside out and iron it flat. Okay, I didn't do a very good job of sewing that straight, but it's only the pocket. It's just to hold the little cord, and this is all made out of scrap, so I mean I've obviously followed the edge of the scrap piece of fabric, and it's not been right. Anywho, I've got my seam, the edge foot that's got a little guide here, so that I can, when I put this on to here, I can follow along and stitch a nice straight line right on the edge of the pocket. But first, let's put our pocket on here. So you'll notice I haven't turned the whole thing. I didn't sew, sorry, I just bashed the stand. That's all open. I'm just going to sew that way and then go up like this and sew my pocket in. So so I can just use my normal foot back on here. Right, I'm just going to find roughly the middle. Finger press that, and then roughly the middle of this, and work out where I want it. Probably about there would be good, so kind of there. I'm just going to line the edge of the material up with the inside of the foot. I'm just going to finger press this. You could iron it, but it's finger pressing is fine. There we go. So that'll be my little pocket. I'll just put a couple of pins just to hold it steady. And this is where the guide foot is awesome. We'll get nice straight edges now. And even though I sewed it, even though the edge of the fabric was slightly crooked on this side, it won't matter. So I just need to go take my foot over, the stitch over. I like to do about 2 mils from here. Make sure I'm starting at the top of the pocket. A couple of back stitches. And then I'm going to go along the bottom. It needs to go down a tad. There we go. Again, the seam guide there, and look how nice and neat that is. And then down this side. Okay, one cute little pocket on the inside. I still use my scraps when I put pockets on the inside, the same as the outside, so that it's all. I could have used that fabric, but that's boring. So there's my little pocket for my charging cable. Right, now we can do the zip bit. First of all, I'm just going to trim that down a little bit, just so that my needle won't run through the metal part there. And this is wider than I need, but I'll trim it off. I'm still just going to use this seam guide, because then I'll get it nice and straight. Oh, except it gets caught on the zipper. That's all right. Now this, my top of my pouch cut at the moment is 9.5. This needs to be 9, because that way I have my 1/4 inch seams, and the edge of this folded part here comes out of each side of the edge of the zipper. So I need to measure, tape measure, where are you, end? There we go. So that needs to be 9. Oh, so because it was a 9.5 inch zip, I can just use it as is. Perfect. But I want these edges to be together, so I'm going to unzip it so that I can make sure they're nice and even. Just before I sew it, make sure that it is 9. So that's a little bit over. Right, so I need to just trim that just a fraction. Generally, I use a zip that's a lot longer so that I don't have the ends. I cut the metal parts off, but this was the only zip that matched. All right, let's see. Is that better? Perfect. 9 on the knocker. No, actually, I'm going to take that off. It gets caught in the zip. Bit of a pain. Right. So this is our new zip. That's how it'll be in the top. So I can now trim off excess here in line with the zip. Otherwise it's just going to be in the way. There we go. Okie, let's go. One the front and zip face down. I'm going to open it just a little. And then we need our lining. We need a zipper foot. Zipper foot. And okay, so I like to, this has to be 1/4 of an inch in on both sides. Now, oh, how did I mismeasure? I may have 9.5. 9. Why is that too long? Why is that too long? Okay, I'm just, otherwise it gets caught and I don't like that. So I'm going to, sorry about my chair. This is the oldest office chair ever. I should bring my desk chair over, but usually we're sitting at our desk backwards and forwards, and this one needs to, it doesn't even go up and down anymore. We've got to have cushions on it, so we've got it at the right height. Okay, so that was just a little bit too long, so I'm just going to trim just a tad more off the end. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, that was my husband. Got an air conditioner person coming to fix our rental properties aircon. It died and we need it because it's very, very hot. All right, so I just trimmed that little bit off. I'm just going to, this is one of the reasons, I like to make this wider. See how that's slipped as soon as I go to start it? So that's why I make my little rectangles wider than the zip, and then I can trim it to the width I like. So we'll have to pin it, not just clip it. And hopefully we can make it stay just a little bit longer. All right. Yeah, it's staying good. Good zippy thing. It stayed in spot then. Okay, let's get rid of all of these. Okay, let's start again. Zipper foot in. Right. Is this better? Oh, that's better. So you can see I've got a 1/4 inch. Sorry, there, and a 1/4 inch, whoop, there. All right, that's what we need. I like to use clip. You can pin it, or you can even glue. Use a fabric glue stick and glue the zip down into position. There we go. And now I can make sure that's the right way. And close that. I like to do that, the zip first, and then come in and put the, because I find often the zip will slip down if I do it all at once. That's just me. That's how I roll. Okay. And now I'm just going to sew all the way along there. I will have to stop and move the zipper pull. Okay. And it's a 1/4 inch seam, which luckily for us or on my zipper foot anyway, that's a 1/4 inch when I do that. I always just, you can't see it on the camera, but I'm just checking to make sure that the zip is still at the top. Okay, just move that zipper pull down out of the way. Made myself okay, so there is the first half. So I'm just going to go to my iron and I'm going to press so that the zip is up and this is like that. So I'm going to just press that. I'll be right back. Right, changing feet again, and I'm putting on the seam guide foot, and I am going to run a little seam down there. It just helps hold the lining in place away from the zipper when you're using it, and also it just looks neat. I'm going to have to take that out of the way. I'll have to move it halfway through, but that's okay. That look just makes it look nice and neat. So now we're going to make sure I've got my music up the right way, that way. I'm going to put this on. I'll make sure I line up the sides of the panel. So same again, the zippy goes to the top. Flip that there. And then I can put my lining piece, making sure that right side to there. So now I'm going to run a seam all the way along there with my zipper foot. A lot of feet changing in this one, but it's worth it. And if you've got the feet, then why not use them, I say. now I'm going to go back to my iron and iron this side, and we'll do see the difference between that's why you need the top stitching. Okay, here we go. So now it's ironed, you really can see the difference that the top stitching makes. So we're going to change our feet again. And okay, got our zip in, got our lining in, got a pocket. Now we're ready to do the last bit, and that's to sew it all together. So I'm leaving the zip sort of in the halfway mark there. About in the halfway, so that I can turn it out. We need to, I'm wondering whether I want to do a little mitered corner or just to leave it flat, because it's not very deep, my little foot pedal. Let me get the pedal. Oh, where are you, pedal? Ah, we've got plenty of room. Let's miter the corner. So what I do, I'll be right back. I'll draw it on there and show you. Oh, I can draw it here. I've got a pen right here. This is going to come off. So I need to I find it much easier if I actually draw it on here. So I'm going to come up an inch, come in an inch, that's there. So I'm going to cut out the corners on the outer and on the lining. Okay, so there I've cut out the corners in the top and in the lining. So I'm going to sew along here, all the way down there. I'm going to leave, I'm probably just sewing about 1.5 inches on each end there, leave the rest for turning, and then sew all the way down that side. Okay, I was just about to start sewing and I thought I'd better tell you that I'll have all of my seams down towards the lining here, where the lining and the outside meet. So the seam into the lining, both sides. Okay, and this needs to be sewn with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm just using these clips, so I find that they hold everything nicely. so there it all is. I'm going to just, no I'm not. I'm going to bring these together to create the mitre. I know they're only little seams, but I like to open them out. I just find it easier to sew that way. So they're both just lining up the seam and open that out. And we're going to do that on all 4 corners. So with a 1/4 seam allowance, 1/4 inch, I'm going to sew along all of those mitres. Okay, so all my corners are now sewn. I can come here and we can turn it out the right way. Big reveal. I'll just use my fingers to push out the corners. Isn't that looking cute? Have a look at when the zip comes up though. How awesome is that? And same on this side. Look at that. So neat. Oop. Lost my finger. Okay. Last thing I do. You can either hand sew this bottom seam, but I tend to turn my edges in and I sew along the whole seam from corner to corner. I'll just give this a clip. And because I can't see through this foot, I'll just put my normal foot back on so I can see. go corner to corner because I feel that it's just a little bit neater than doing just the opening. Trim those little threads off, and we have ourselves, let's put that inside, put the miters into the corners. We have ourselves one very cute zippered pouch. And I just have to, I always tend to have a lot of, because I've ripped most of the fabric, there'll be little pieces poking out. I just give it the once over, and there we go. And my foot will fit there nicely in there, and I can put, where's my little cord, charging cable into the pocket, all together into my bag. How cute is that? Well, there is, oh, I haven't quite pulled that out, have I? But sometimes I need a big stick, or maybe the end of the pen, because you've got to remember there's quite a lot of bulk in this seam. There we go. Nice. Beautiful. One zippered pouch, quilt-as-you-go. So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Thank you for joining me today. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel, and that way I can keep on bringing you more crafty goodness. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you make yourself one of these, please put it on Instagram and tag me, gramaryecreativearts, and the link is in the video description. I'd love to see them. Bye. Toodles.